All right, guys, we are here again. Welcome to the show. Our next guest was someone we've been trying to get this done. We finally got our times aligned, and yeah, she's another one of these just fighters. I did a video about this on TikTok recently, just dedicating a video to those of us who are just, we get kicked around by life a lot. But we don't complain about it all. I mean, we do, but not as much as we should. We get up every day after we get knocked down, and there's so many days where we just don't want to get out of bed. We don't even want to live, but we somehow push through that, and we go on and take care of ourselves and our loved ones and our animals and so on, and we just keep fighting. And I'm always in awe of those type of people, which, another example of it is our next guest. So would you like to tell us your name and a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on today, TJ. My name is Marcy Langlois, and I am someone who has been a trauma survivor for the last 20 years, really working on healing that. I've been clean and sober for 21 years, and as I've gone throughout my life, I've battled chronic illness and found a way to overcome that also, and have collected tools, tips, and tricks along the way that, I'd really love to bring to the audience today.
Yeah, for sure. I've interviewed so many people with so many different disabilities and whatnot, and, you can get 10 people in a row with the same exact condition. They'll all have a different story. So I always look forward to just meeting people and to see how they get through life, because everybody has their own way, and I think that's what makes people so unique and awesome. And that's why though I have a disability myself, I have a vision problem, and everything I do for the most part is my own alternate way. And I always I that's one of the things I've learned to tap into and really thrive with my disability, and not look at it as just like this hindrance, this crutch, because I think being different, I'm sure you could probably attest to this, but as a kid, being different sucks, because you're made fun of, you're bullied, and you're told that you're no good, and you're not like the rest of us. But then the older you get, and eventually when you can learn to kind of love yourself and appreciate what you have, being different is awesome. Because when you look around at the landscape of social media and everything that's going on in the world, you don't see a lot of different. You see a lot of similarity, and it's not a good thing. So, yeah, I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. My difference was being born with a cleft lip and palate, and struggling through all the rigors of that, and then it wreaking havoc on my chronic illness to move forward with. But operating in the world with a facial deformity certainly, yes, has brought a number of challenges. And it is no fun when you're a kid, because they're present, and kids are honest, and they just say it how it is. They say it as they see it. And I don't think they necessarily are even meaning to be mean. They're just being who they are. And so fun when you're a kid. But I think for me, what I have garnered out of all of that experience is that I would not be who I am today without that. And there's no doubt in my mind. It shaped me and molded me in a way that is almost hard to articulate. But really, if I had to sum it up, I feel like the thing that it's given me the most is grit, right? Is kind of like what you said, right? Like your life, every day, you find a workaround. You find a way to get things done that you need to get done, where the average ordinary person, hasn't had a setback from the very beginning of their life. They, when they come upon struggle, blind them, completely take them out. And so I feel like, being different and having to make my way in the world when it was not easy and things often felt uphill, absolutely are the things that allow me to thrive in my life today, instead of being taken out by my circumstances.
Sure, and you could let ridicule and bullying and all that, you could let that break you. So regardless of what people perceive you to look like on the outside, you could be way uglier on the inside. And it's like, as a person who's going through bullying, and people have thrown stuff and just spit on me and all kind of things, when I was a child, it's like that stuff still like just reeks throughout your head, and it's the PTSD you get from it. And when you have a bad day, there are times where you're just like, man, I would just love to just do something awful. And I would, sometimes you want other people to feel how you're feeling, but then somehow you're able to come back around and give yourself a reality check and remember who you are and what your values and your morals and all that. And you push through it, and the beauty within all that. And like I said, there's a lot of times that people break. And that's why I don't judge people, because I never know when someone does something. I never know where they're coming from, because most people, as they say, hurt people hurt people. And a lot of times the people that are doing the hurting are the people who are being hurt or are hurt themselves. And that's why I'm always in awe of people like you, who are just somehow still around, still fighting. And you could be bitter, and maybe partially you are, I don't know, but you're able to just correct that and check yourself and just say, no, this is not who I am at my core. Regardless, I'm not going to get even. I'm just going to still be who I am at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't always this way.
Sure.
I went through my life and I took on a victim mentality role. Um, not when I was really young. But as I got old, a horrific car accident, when I was 17 years old, and people ended up perishing in the car accident. 3 people lost their lives that day, and that plagued me for a really long time. And I felt responsible for the death of these people, even though I was never found legally at fault in any way. And so when that happened, that was kind of like the icing on the cake for me. It felt like, why bother? Why try? Why does it matter? And poor me, right? Poor me. Look at my life and look at all the stuff I've already been through. And now on top of this, these circumstances are present. And and the way I worked with that was the only way I knew how, which was seeking relief. And the only way I could find relief was in drugs and alcohol. And I ventured down that path of addiction and lived my life like that for until I was 27 years old. And then it became crystal clear to me that I was doing to my daughter what had been done to me. And my father was an alcoholic, and I refused to do that to another living human being. And I quit drinking, and it's been 21 years since I've had any drugs or alcohol in my system. And thank you. And that's when I really changed. That's when I, decided to be a thriver, instead of being a victim and woe is me and I want to give up and, all of that stuff. But I absolutely can relate because I have been there. But I just choose not to live my life like that anymore.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I really detest in today's world, is just like everybody now is a victim, and they don't even have what's on your rap sheet. They don't have. They don't have a condition that you were bullied, and they don't have an alcoholic father, and death and destruction all around you. A lot of people are just victims because it sells and it gets them viewership and all that. And it's like, as a person who has been victimized in this world, meaning me, I used to pity myself and I used to feel bad, and once in a while that's okay. Like when you've been through a lot, all right, sure, you have things to feel sad about, but you sit around and you wear that like scarlet V on your chest and I'm a victim. It's gross, and it's just it's sad, and the reality is like no one's gonna care after a while, and you have to push yourself to levels that you never thought were possible, and you have to just get over it as best you can, and you got to pull yourself out of your little pity party, your dark hole that you've been just, just drowning in, and you got to figure it out. But it's just like today, everybody is offended at everything. Everybody is just, oh my God, someone did this. And it's like, I don't like this. And it's like, you don't even really know the hardships of life. Like you don't. And there are people who really do. And I think a lot of people who really have been victimized, for the most part, I think a lot of us don't go around, once we are able to obtain the necessary tools we can to combat it, we don't go around wearing a shirt saying we're victims. We just are. And if you're a victim and you run into another person who has been victimized, you know it because you know how they carry themselves. You can feel just certain tones, and it doesn't mean that they're necessarily a negative, downer type of person. You can feel their mental and emotional scars, just how they carry themselves. And like I said, that's why I'm so in awe of just strong people, because we all have made mistakes because of our past, and whether they're legit excuses or not, I'm just in awe of the people who found ways to just fight it away and stand tall eventually and just own who they are and take themselves and look at them and just say, look, all this may not be I may not have deserved this and this and that, but I did play a part in this and this and that. And I need to just deal with that. I need to accept it and move on and just live my life. And because again, sitting around bathing in your problems is just, you're not going to evolve. You're not going to go anywhere. You're just going to stay stagnant.
Yeah, I agree. I did it for a long time. I took that route with addiction, and it got me nowhere. I do think it helped me in a lot of ways. I do like to see that it was positive for me, because I had so much trauma that I had not dealt with, and I didn't have the capacity to deal with it then. And so alcohol bridged that gap for me. If I wouldn't have been using and had something that provided temporary relief for me, I would have probably taken my own life, because it was so painful for me just to try to be alive. It was so painful to acknowledge my past and the present, this car accident, these people's lives that were lost, and all of those things. And so in some ways, alcohol was helpful for me to get to where I needed to go, to get the help that I needed. But, all in all, really, like what I've learned over the course of all of this is that, what I hear you pointing at, but not directly saying in the way that I say it, is that, really our thoughts create our reality, right? Whatever I choose to believe creates the outcome that I'm experiencing. So, if I want to sit around and, wear the victim shirt, then I am a victim, right? That I'm victimizing myself, and I am adopting that mentality, and I am keeping myself stuck there. Or if I want to say, I'm an overcomer and I'm a thriver and I'm doing the absolute best that I can today, then that is also true. So whatever it is I choose to tell myself and then reinforce that is ultimately what my reality ends up being. And so it's super important for me. That's the work that I do every day, is what is it that I'm focusing on? What is it that I'm telling myself? Am I letting those old tapes run in my mind of, hey, flat face, and, all the names that kids used to call me, and all of the things, right? Am I letting those tapes run my day today, or do I get to choose what tapes that I'm going to plug in for the day, that I'm worthy I'm valuable, I'm lovable, I'm deserving, all of these things, and operate from that space. And let me tell you, that was the game changer for me in overcoming a lot of things. And that doesn't mean like glossing over what happened, because for me, I've been in, I had to go to therapy for 20 years and I still do some therapeutic work. It looks different. I don't use cognitive behavioral therapy anymore. I use techniques that are based in the body. But I believe you have to heal what has happened, right? It's like a two-part thing that happens. You have to address the trauma and heal it, and then you have to shift you have to shift your mindset to redefine your life from what it was to what you envision and what you would like it to be.
Yeah, no, I mean, forever. Like I said, I'm legally blind, so I can see some, but when people hear the word blind, like anytime I seen like representation of blindness, it was never anything that I could look up to. There's a lot of times it was just people being just pathetic in a lot of ways. Not all. There's some really good representation, but they're not enough. There wasn't really any, superheroes like in the community that I could be like, man, like I bowl. And like I didn't know anybody other than the girl on my team who's visually impaired. I couldn't look up someone that shows me how to bowl visually impaired. No one told me.
Sure.
So it's like, and I'd look around at the landscape of even disability as a whole, and I'm like, man, there's just not a lot of people being as positive as they should. They're focusing on words and they're focusing on certain stuff, but I want someone to just, who I think is just cool. Someone who just is just a person. Yeah, they have a disability. It's a part of them. They're not ashamed of it, but it's not all who they are. And I think, like, especially with blind, a lot of times it was just like, okay, because I get a lot of times, well, you don't look blind. And I said, well, for one, I didn't tell you I was totally blind, but how am I supposed to look? Do I need the cane, the dark sunglasses, the dog? It's like, because, and then I get told which has become like a very ultimate compliment for me now. It's like, wow, you get around so well. And it's like, yeah, it's not easy, but I make it look easy. And I still try to dress and match and look nice and try to do my thing and just live my life. Doesn't mean I don't suffer from any pain, and emotionally. I still do what I still struggle, but I just don't let the blind thing just be. And again, I'm not worried about words or anything, but I just don't let that define me. But I'm also proud to say I'm in the disability community, because I think we, among, some other people, are the strongest people that exist, because we fight so hard just to try to, stay up and keep up with people who have way more advantages than us. And we thrive anyway. And we succeed, and the world's not built for us, but somehow we find ways to find love and love ourselves and just gain strength and evolve. And just, I see so many people now becoming a full-fledged advocate. I see so many people, whether they're paraplegics or amputees or blind, deaf, whatever, what have you, and they're just doing amazing things, and they do it with less, and like I said, I'm proud to be that. And so kind of going back to your thing is just, it became a real thing for me to just be a good representation for not only people with disabilities, but especially particular people with blindness, because I didn't want it to just be, I'm blind and life sucks. And I'm not saying that it doesn't suck at times. It does, for sure.
Sure.
But it also, you can still be happy. It's just, you can't be happy sitting around saying, oh my God, life sucks, I'm blind. And so I wanted to really push myself to try to go above and beyond, to try to be a better advocate and just be a better person for me. And then hopefully that will, matriculate to the rest of the people around me and go, wow, look at that guy. And sometimes people think I don't have a disability. And even though I'm not trying to get away from that, it kind of is a compliment, because it's like I do, but I still am living, and you can actually see me without looking at my damaged eyes. So I don't know if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's incredible. You're suffering into meaning and purpose, and you are amazing, right? Like, you have this podcast show as someone who's visually impaired. and you're running a podcast show. Like I have my own podcast show, and I know what it takes to put together a podcast, and I'm sighted, right?
Yeah.
And so I can't imagine, and this is in addition to the rest of your life that, you know, takes extra time and energy and whatever. So I love your mission, and I love your contribution to your community and to the world at large. It's inspiring as someone who's able-bodied to witness what it is that you're doing and to spread the hope and inspiration for others that you're doing. It's amazing, TJ.
I appreciate it. I think it's one thing that's just been really apparent to me and is really important for me more than anything with the show. Well, one thing is to obviously have this free space for anybody to come on and be themselves and without judgment. You know, maybe it's one of the good things why it's not a visual element. It's like somebody, not that I would judge your face regardless. I know what you look like, but it's like, you know, like I have people on with Tourette's, they'll tick. I don't care. If you don't like that, don't listen to my show. I just want people just to be themselves. But the thing that I really care about beyond just taking care of the guest and just having this free space for us to be ourselves is just showing you taking the fourth wall, fifth wall, sixth wall, taking it all away and just saying, look, this is everything. I'm pulling back the curtain. I'm not just showing you, and I do this with social media even more so to some degree. I'm also just saying, look, this is us. This is me dealing with my depression. Some days I'm sad. Some days I'm frustrated. Like earlier they don't know, but you know, you were pissed off about your headphones. You know, sometimes it's the little things that just set you off because you've been through so much in life that you just want one thing to go right and you just want your stupid headphones to pair with your phone, and it doesn't. And it's like, really, like I feel like I've put enough time in life that I feel like my headphones should work every day. I'm not saying I deserve a supermodel wife and $1 billion. I just want my stupid headphones to pair. But not, you know, completely getting off the path here is that I really care about just showing all of what our life entails, not glorifying it, but, you know, I mean, you can glorify it to some degree, but it's celebrating it but also showing you the tough parts, the hard labor that goes into the struggle every day, getting up. And someday you may get up one day and you're like, man, I love life. And the next day you go, you know what? Like, I really just don't want to get the fuck out of this bed. Like I had it with life, and it was just one day later. And you're not bipolar or anything like that. You're just going through it. That's right. So I show the mental. I mean, I'm really keen on. I'm just talking about mental health too as well. But I like to show all of what it is someone like us goes through. And again, I can only give you a male, white, visually impaired perspective. So it's like, how can I talk about what it's like to have like a facial deformity? I have no idea. I have eyes that look off, but other than that, I don't know what it's like. I mean, I had all my skin burned off at one point, but all of it came back. So I don't know what it's like to be you. I also don't know what it's like to be a female. So I'd rather have people on to fill in those gaps because there's a bunch of people right now that are super lonely and they feel like no one is like them. And you come on and you could give a perspective that's unlike mine. So yeah, you know, it's just helping people. And I think that's what we as society, we constantly want to talk about how humans are the top of the food chain and all that. But all we do is destroy and hurt, and we don't help enough. And it's like, we have to look out for each other. I don't care if they make $1 or $1 billion. I don't care if they're fully sighted, totally blind. I don't care. Just help each other. We're supposed to look out for each other. That's what a community is meant to be. And I think sometimes we focus so much on what we lack and how we're different instead of just, you know, celebrating it.
I would agree wholeheartedly, 150%. And I think it's important. I love that you want to showcase the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Because when you're in the struggle, it is, it's not pretty, Sometimes I'm on the floor in a ball, crying and begging that this is going to stop. And other days I'm out living my best life, and everything in between there. And it's important to know, but I found that, again, it all comes back to the way that I think, right? Once I've dealt with the trauma then it really is about the way that I think. And, for example, I can have absolutely nothing happen, in the next hour, and I can go from being completely fine to completely depressed. Well, what changed? Likely what changed, if there's no outside stimulus that changed that, then it is my own thought. Right? What did I start thinking about? What did I start worrying about? What did I become fearful over? What is it that I want to control that I can't? How am I wanting things to be different than they actually are? Right? Like, those are the things that actually predict the outcome of how I'm going to live my life. And I had no idea how powerful my thoughts were until I was so sick 3 years ago and almost died. And I got a full-on taste of how powerful my thoughts are. And how it showed up for me was what I was thinking. I was having full body tremors and tremors in my brain. My nervous system really collided with my immune system and just caused a complete mess within my body. And I had multi-system failures going on in my body. None of the systems in my body were working correctly. I had mast cell activation syndrome and histamine intolerance. And so I was bedridden for 40 days. And while I was laying in bed, if I started thinking about, I don't know if I'm going to go back to my career and what's going to happen with my business. And, if I started ruminating about that stuff, the tremors in my body would immediately increase by like tenfold. And I'm not exaggerating at all when I tell you this. But if I could just lay in bed and I could be present in the moment, it didn't mean I liked things as they were. It didn't mean that I was like, oh yes, I approve. This is fantastic. No, that's not what I'm saying. But if I was just present in this moment and I was just accepting that this is how it is, and I stopped resisting what was happening, the tremors would decrease in my body. So then I started running experiments. Like, oh, so when I'm going to think about this and see what happens in my body. And I would think about it and I would see literally physical changes in my body based on what I was thinking. So I know I've read thousands of books about this, not thousands, I'm embellishing, but hundreds of books about, the mind and the body action. And I've thought about it and believed in it for a long time, but I'm like, yeah, it's really cool, but probably not all things are that way. But I'm here to tell you that all things are that way. The way that we think and the way that we feel creates our reality, and it ends up dictating the life that we have. And so when I'm having a difficult time, and everyone's human, right? I'm not saying that you use this to beat yourself up or to gloss over your struggle. That's not what I'm saying at all. But right? It's like, okay, right now is really difficult. In this moment, it is really difficult for me because I can't stand up, because I feel so awful, I want to die. Whatever those things are that are occurring, those are occurring for you. Acknowledge that, right? But how can I change the way I'm seeing this situation? Or how can I look at this from a different perspective? Or when was the last time that I felt this way, and what did I do to overcome myself in that time? Right? And I use those tools that I have myself, and that's how I shift from where I am in those moments of complete and utter despair, where I'm suicidal or homicidal sometimes, whatever it might be, right? And I switch and I can move into a place of acceptance, which brings a level of peace, which brings a level of maybe joy, right? And that's how I've transformed from 40 days of bedridden, staring death in the eye, to where I am today. And I constantly employ those tools because I'm human. And things still happen and things still show up. My earbuds don't connect to my phone and I get pissy.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's, I talked about it on here, but about a year ago when I got fired from my job, a job that I should have left a long time ago, was super unhappy and stressed out, and now most of that stress and anxiety has gone away since it's left, and I also got a much better job. But when I was in the midst of that, and I had, within the first couple weeks of being fired, I'm trying to like talk myself down from being anxious and lose my shit, because I'm like, oh, I start to fall into old behaviors and start to believe the things like, the disability mantras of, well, how am I going to find a job when I have a disability? Who's going to hire me? All these things. And I kept believing myself that I would, but I eventually started to just like, all right, let's logically break this down. I could compare it to many things in my life that would knock it right off the paper, because like I say, hey, I have so many things that I've been through. It's not even in the top 20, but I was like, let's logically compare it to something that's close to when I my mom was selling the house, and she said, hey, you could stay with me and my boyfriend, and I love my mom, but she said you could stay with us or you could find your own way. And I remember there was a job that was 3.5 hours away from a town I was originally born in, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to look up and see if they still have application, and got it and applied and eventually got the job. And at that point, not only did so the point of bringing this up is that at one point I had to get a job. I also had to find a place to stay. And I had really no money, and I had to move. So I had to do all these things. And comparing it to the situation where I got fired, I'm like, well, you have a place to stay. You have your own place. You have your own money. You don't have to move. The only thing you have to do is find a job. So in comparison to a very similar situation, if that was a 10, this is like a 4. So you should be okay. We'll find another job. It's not going to be easy, but we're going to find one. Hang in there. Don't know how we're going to do it. We just got to believe in the process and just believe in ourselves. We've been through worse. And eventually you start to calm down. And of course, you have days that'll creep in, because it's not going to happen the next day. It's not a movie. So it's not going to happen in the next 2 scenes. But, so you'll have a couple days where you're like, oh, you start to doubt. And then while you're on the path, you'll see a sign that says, in 15 miles, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, okay, still there. And all of a sudden you get a reply back from somebody. And you're like, okay, here's a job interview. Maybe the job interview doesn't work out, but it's like, hey, that's progress. We had a job interview. We didn't have any job interviews. No one even acknowledged us. Now someone did. And then you get down a little bit again, because no more job interviews. And then all of a sudden you see something online. You're like, ooh, that place sounds cool, but I don't know. Why would they hire someone like me? They say they want someone with a disability, but who really does that? And then all of a sudden you get the call back and you say, come in for a job interview. And then all of a sudden they hire you on the spot. And you're like, huh? Come again? And so point is, it's just, yeah, you really, especially mentally, you have to get yourself focused. You have to, for us, we have a lot of life experience in our younger years. We're not old, so we're able to, but we have so much jam packed in there, and it's like, it's easy to just compare it to some of the worst times of our lives when we're going through something and say, hey, you know what? It's not that bad, and I think I'll be okay.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. Life is, no one's trying to diminish or downplay what someone's going through. It's just, as a person who has been through a lot, I really know I can get through most things. And some days, I don't know about you, but some days something will happen to me and I'll be like, that should have hurt my feelings, or that should have really affected me. And it just bounced off of me. And I'm like, yeah, I know I'm getting stronger. And so when I have these days where maybe I start to feel sorry for myself and I let the emotions take over, because I just allowed it to, because I'm like, you know what? I just don't feel like fighting it today. It's Saturday morning. I could easily just go back to sleep and just sleep this day away, or just sleep for another hour and it'll go away. I let it take over. And the reality is, as it's taking over, it's not like it's consuming me where I'm going to end up in the emergency room like I have before. It's not like I'm going to be on suicide watch like I was before. It's just, I'm just going to have a small, internal mental pity party. And I'm just going to pile on a little bit, and I'm just going to go through it a little. But while I do that, it's like a snake shedding its skin. And the next time I go through this, it lasts, it goes much quicker. And I continue to just evolve and get stronger. And it's like, like these, sometimes they're just necessary to just kind of, like if you see an elephant, like when it's in like, it just needs to clean itself and it just jumps in dust and dirt and just goes, it just needs to get everything off of it. And sometimes you just have to go through a little shit just to understand. Because I mean, so many people nowadays, they don't know what it's like to win because none of them have lost anything. And as a person who's not only lost most of my sight, I've lost people through death. I've lost people, I've lost, not just people, but I've just lost so much. I lost most of my childhood being in a hospital, but I'm not here sitting there bitching about it anymore. It is what it is. I'm 35. I'm here. I'm standing, and I'm as strong as, I'm not going to say I'm as strong as I'm going to get, because I think I can get stronger, but I'm way stronger than I used to be. And I know that's progress. I know that I'm evolving and just being the person I've always wanted to be. And I still have ways to go. So it's, but it's amazing to look at it from the heights that I'm at, from where I used to be.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's how it happens, right? Just one step at a time, this evolutionary process that we all take. It doesn't happen overnight. I think that, that's a common misconception, is that people, I wanted everything to be fine overnight, or I'd make this decision, like, I'm going to make these changes and this is going to help improve my life. Like, it's kind of like the idea of like, I'm on a diet, I want to lose 10 pounds. And so you're like, oh, I ate great all weekend. Have I lost my 10 pounds yet? Right? Like, it doesn't work like that. It's these small, consistent steps towards change that we make, and implementing different strategies to live our life in a way that feels more life affirming, rather than in this place of just being constantly stuck. And as the challenges come, maybe today I do a great job at managing them and handling them, and other times, I really just get a big fat F on it. I just absolutely freak out and don't do anything that I should do or want to do to live my life differently, and feel like sometimes I'm going backwards with that. But that's the reality of it, right? And that, for me, that's as helpful as doing the things that I want to, because it's like the pain that I create from not doing what I wanted to do, or not responding in a way that I wanted to respond, helps motivate me to go back to the course again. Like, no, Marcy, this is the path that you wanted to be on. These are the thoughts that you want to think. This is why it's not helpful to stay in this old mindset of unworthiness or trauma or whatever, right? This is the way forward. Mm-hmm. And, there's always an opportunity to learn with everything that's happening in life. Always an opportunity to learn, right? I can always grow in patience, or I can always grow in kindness or love, or I can always grow in opening my heart, or I can always grow and become more resilient. Whatever it is, every opportunity or every that happens to us is an opportunity for me to grow if I'm willing. And sometimes it's learning through the negative. My greatest, and I think for you, based on all the things you've shared today, sounds true for you also possibly, is that my greatest movement forward, my greatest moments of evolution have always come out of the most difficult experiences that I've had. It's never been when everything is so wonderful in my life. It's like, oh, now, this amazing evolution happens on the other side. No, it's when I'm in the gutter. It's when I'm getting, my ass kicked. It's when, all of these things are not going my way. It's on the other side of that I always experience some sort of transformation that in some way makes it feel worthwhile.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I've had, of course, like you, I've had a lot of people say some very ignorant things, and some of that stuff motivates you to this day. But I think, to me, not only was it the scariest time of my life, and this is coming from a person who nearly died from a disease, but I think the scariest time and the most afraid I was in life was when I was at war with myself. And my brain was saying everything that other people were saying, but much worse. And it was
Yeah.
convincing me that the worst things on the planet were okay. That it's like, you know what? I'm hurting, so let's hurt other people. Let's do it. It's
Yeah.
it's okay. Like, you know, I've talked about it on here before, but it's like if I saw a woman, I would say you should rape her, and it's like, whoa. And then I'm sitting there looking at myself, going, look, I don't, and because it's not like I'm hearing actual voices, but it's just like these urges and these feelings that just seem okay, but it's masked in this just deep like darkness and sadness. And it's like, but because you're hurting inside so much, it almost seems like an okay idea because you see people around you. It's always like the worst times when you see people smiling and laughing and enjoying life, and you hate it. You just want to see it burn.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
those times when you're just at your, I mean, I never drank or did drugs, but when I hit my mental bottom where I literally detested life and I wanted to end my life and attempted to, I didn't know there was any coming back from that. I didn't know. And then it's just like this little bit of light crept in, and I just started to find something to hold on to. And it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier, but just, and I always use the analogy of steps where you're looking up and you see infinite amount of steps and you're like, I can never make it up there. But while you're talking about it, you're like, well, I can try a couple. And then like a year or two goes by and you look back or you look up and you see infinite amount of steps. And you're like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. But then you look back and you go, oh shit, I was way down there. Okay. All right, I guess I'll keep going. Let me see if I can reach the top. And then you keep going and keep going. Years go by, and then you look back, you look up, and there's still infinite amount of steps. But you look back and you go, my God, I used to be down. I don't want to be that guy. But then you start looking around and you see other steps, and you go, maybe I should go left. But eventually, hopefully, for if you're lucky, there will be a sign that says, hey, get back on the right path of steps. And you'll keep going, and you just keep going and keep going. And eventually along the way, you'll see signs that does say, hey, in 1,000 steps, you will see, you'll meet the girl of your dreams or whatever. And in a million, maybe you'll see, you'll get the dream job that you always wanted. You're like, 1,000,000? I don't want to do another million. But then you look back and go, well, I did do 12 million. I guess I can do another million. And it's just a process. You keep going. And you just keep dragging yourself out of this hell. And little by little, as you climb, it just becomes like, yeah, this is just daily life. It's just like when you start going to the gym and you know, making it a part of your daily routine. Do you like it? No. But if you start to see results, you'll start liking it. So you just keep climbing. You keep doing what you got to do to just make something in your life. And when things start to work out for you finally, you don't pity yourself anymore, and you look back at all the times that you did and all the times you hurt. You'll have a moment of like, man, I wasted a lot of time. But also you'll eventually go, look at all this has done for me now, and look how much stronger I am, and look where I'm at. And though maybe I still have a long way to go, I have come so far. And it's like there's no stopping. And you reflect on all those moments, and you start to, like I said to myself recently, I started to really, I think for this last past year, I really started appreciating the journey. I really started looking forward to what's coming next and not going, oh God, only bad is coming. Or when is the bad going to come because I'm so used to it. Or being impatient that nothing has happened yet. I'm just starting to just lay back and go, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I hope it's good. And it should be good. And I'm not just pitying it, or I'm not looking down on it and being pessimistic. I'm just like, yeah, I think we're going where we needed to be going. I don't know what that is, but we're going somewhere.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fantastic. I love your illustration of the stairs. And it's true. I always say, you know, time is passing either way, right? Like my life is happening whether I wanted to or I don't. And regardless of what I, you know, want, it's not happening, right? Life is moving forward. And so I have a choice in every moment. as to the way I'm going to spend this lifetime. And I can spend this lifetime making myself miserable, being envious and jealous of not having, the body that I wanted, being stuck at the doctor, all the painful procedures, on and on, name it all, right? Like I can be stuck in that and the resentment and anger of all of that, or can in this moment go to the gym. I can sit outside, just enjoy nature. I can watch my favorite show and laugh. I can read a book that brings joy, or listen to a book that brings me joy, right? In each moment, I have the choice to decide of what way I want to move the needle. I can either move the needle towards everything that I don't want in my life, or I can move the needle towards everything I do want in my life. And it comes in the smallest choices in every moment, right? And every choice has the opportunity to change the trajectory of our lives. Every single choice that we make all day long, right?
Yeah, for the good or for the worse.
This morning. Yeah, think back to this morning. If you would have taken a different way to work, well, that could have changed the outcome of your day, right? Like every moment is a different opportunity for a different choice.
Yeah.
And I think that's so powerful when you think of that in terms of dealing with things that feel daunting and whatever, right? It's like, oh, I have the power to make a different choice right now. What is that going to be? Or I can stay right here, or I can make it worse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But either way, in 10 years is going to have passed. So do I want to be healthy, strong, resilient, feeling mostly hopeful, or do I want to be angry, pissed off, jealous, envious, right? Like, what do I want in 10 years from now, or in a year from now, or in a month from now, right? And so it's like these incremental choices or incremental steps that we can take every single day, all throughout the day, making these small choices that make the difference in the outcome that we're going to experience whenever, that timeline arrives.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, it's like I said before, it all starts from somewhere. Sometimes it's just because you hate yourself so much that you're like, I guess I should start just brushing my teeth. I should just start showering.
Yes.
Start with the image. Start with the outer appearance and go, maybe I should smell better. Maybe I should try to look more presentable and not look like a mess. And, because regardless of how I feel, if I'm attractive or not, when you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, ugh, if I feel that way, God knows what other people feel. Not that it really matters entirely, because right now it's about fixing you, but sometimes it starts with just the basic amenities, the little things that start to add up to big things. And when you start to really care about your smile and smiling period, but also brushing your teeth, and you care about just little things like that. And it's like, and then you get into the adult world and you're like, paying bills, shit, I got to do that. Okay, pay bills. And that's why I said earlier, like in the very beginning, about just being in these people who are fighters. It's like, you still got to, regardless of, we want life to stop for us for a little while so we can kind of decompress and figure out what is happening. Life goes on. Life continues to move on. We can't just sit around and go, oh, my poor eyes, or oh, my poor face. You have to, keep going, because look, your bills aren't going to pay themselves. Your animals aren't going to feed themselves for the most part, and your kids aren't going to feed themselves for the most part. And so you got to take care of everything else that's in your life while dealing with all these realistic issues that are real problematic. And they're not like there's nothing to shy away from. Yeah, these are the issues that we have dealt with are real issues, but that doesn't mean life stops otherwise. And so
right,
that's why I'm in so all of inspiring by so many people who just do all those things and still deal with their issues and still find ways to smile and still find ways to uplift other people. Because again, back to the very beginning of the podcast, it's just like you could turn that ugly inside and just you could give every bit of energy that you've been that's been brought upon you, and just pour negative energy into your community, into your life and your family, and You could give the hatred that has been brought upon you, and the fact that a lot of us who don't do that, I mean, those are the people that I am most inspired by, because it is so hard. It's so easy to just let the pain consume you. It's much harder to defeat it or push it away and say, no, I'm not going to be like my father, or I'm not going to be like the bully. I'm going to be a good person, and I'm going to give love, and I'm going to help others, even if I don't feel like even loving myself today.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
I didn't ask you, do you have something to promote?
I do. I have a coaching platform
Okay.
where I work with people in varying degrees, depends on what your needs are. You can reach out to me. I'm not sure that I sent you the link, but if we can just put it in the show notes, would that work okay?
Whenever, yeah, I don't think you did, but when you do, it'll come out it'll be a little while until it comes out, but you can send it to me whenever, and I'll put it in.
Okay, great. Yeah, and everyone can find me there. And then, of course, I'm on, all the major social media platforms and TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and you can find me there. And, if you're someone who's really struggling today to find your way, to change your thoughts, to move out of a victim mentality into a thriving mentality, those are the kinds of people that I work with. Those are my ideal clients that I'm helping now to transform their lives. So, or addiction, chronic illness, all those kinds of things. So if I can be of assistance, let me know.
Sure. No, I know a lot of people with especially chronic pain. What I want to ask you, what's your podcast about?
My podcast, I had a run, and I did a year-long podcast. I've produced, I think, like 36 or 38 episodes, and I did it all as a solo cast. So what I did is I just picked a topic for the week, and I produced a podcast on it. So I talked about everything from addiction to recovery to living a different life to changing your thoughts and beliefs to, everything, all the things that we struggle with as human beings. And I would just make a short, 10-minute episode. And, but there's so much information, and I tried to make it actionable. Like at the end of every episode, give you, provide a 2 or 3 step process of how you could implement what I was talking about on the podcast.
Okay. That's cool. That's a good idea. You ever gonna get back into it, or are you just kind of done with it?
I don't know. It was a really great experience, but it's, as you know, it's a lot of work to do it. So I'm not sure if it's something that I will continue to do because I'm on social media a lot. And so it's a lot of work to keep all the balls in the air and have coaching clients and,
Right. Absolutely. What are you on TikTok? I'll follow you.
Just at Marcy Langlois.
Okay. Yeah.
Just my first and last name.
Gotcha. I'll find you. I appreciate you coming on. You're a real delight. I'm happy we were able to figure this out. And as I offer it to most people, if not everybody, I've come on. I do mean it, whether you take it up, whether you accept it or not. If you ever need a friend, someone to talk to, please just reach out anytime.
I really appreciate that. Thanks so much, TJ. Likewise. Yeah. And thanks for having me today. What an honor to be here with you and your community of listeners. And you're an inspiration to me. And this conversation has been so uplifting for me today. So thank you so much.
Anytime. Well, I call my people the blind spots.
Awesome.
You got the Swifties and you got the blind spots. So.
I love it.
Yeah, but no, you got to have a dark sense of humor. But yeah, no, I appreciate you. And like I said, we'll definitely keep in touch. And if there's anything you need, just please reach out anytime.
Oh, likewise. Well, let me know when the episode's ready to air, and I will share it on all of my platforms and whatever. And hopefully it'll be a huge success for your show.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, again, thank you. And you go do your next podcast. I'm going to the gym.
All right. Sounds great. Have a good day, TJ.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, guys, we are going to get up out of here. As I said, headed to the GM. I think the next episode I'm going to do an eye update. Got some pretty good news at the doctor's. And this will be a little while until it comes out, so we'll see. But I believe the next one it's just gonna be solo, just me, because I want to give you guys some update and just kind of give you the journey of this whole thing with my eyes. I think it'd be important to do. So I try not to do too many solo projects, but I think it is important because a lot of times I throw in my own stuff during these episodes, but there are times that things happen and they happen fast, and I just don't have time to really focus on me as much as I'd rather just focus on the guest. So every so often it's important for me to just kind of pause our regular scheduled program and just do me for half hour or whatever. I don't know if he'll say hi, but we shall try. Bullet, would you like to say hello to the people? He's licking himself. Okay. He looked at the mic and said, nah. And his nose was almost against it, so he just says nah. So I apologize to the fans who only come to listen to Bullet. We'll give one more chance. Bullet, would you like to say hello to the people? Excuse me. Can you stop licking yourself for a minute and just say hi? Because they really like you. They miss you. You haven't been on the show. The rumors are true, aren't they? You're getting your own show and you're leaving us. Come say hi. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. He's just being a pain in the ass. We all love him, but I don't know. I feel like he's cheating on us. So, but yeah, you guys enjoy yourself. We will be back here next week, and hopefully healthy and strong and all that jazz. So, all right, guys. I don't know when I started saying jazz, but for some reason I keep saying it, and it bugs me because I don't know where it came from. So, anyway, goodbye, y'all.